Okay, wonderful. So today we're just going to be chit-chatting about your chapter. I know that you wrote about your NDE. So maybe you can begin just by telling us a little bit about your NDE. What did you experience? What were some of the major takeaway points for you? Some of the things that have changed your life, all that good stuff.
All right. Yeah, so I'll just describe my near-death experience a little bit. So it happened when I was a kid. I was shortly before my sixth birthday. I had been playing with some friends in a, neighbor's backyard with my brother and maybe five other friends. And something happened where I couldn't breathe. I don't know what happened or what caused this, but no matter what I did, I couldn't get a breath of air. And I realized this was becoming pretty serious, so I decided I should go home and try to get help from my parents. But I only made it about 10 or 20 feet away from my friends, and this breathing problem, it triggered the release of my soul from my body. Like I literally left this body, and I watched as my body fell to the ground, and I was kind of just floating there, and I could see my body on the ground. I could see my friends, and it was immediately obvious that me, like I am something different than this body. That was just completely obvious. And a couple things happened very quickly. The first was my entire life replayed for me in extreme detail. Like I relived, re-experienced my whole life. But not only did I re-experience my feelings, I also could feel my parents' feelings. And I saw a light in the distance, and I knew there was something important about it, but I didn't continue to focus on it. But as I was floating there, I would start to have questions. And as I would have questions, it's like answers would come to me. It was like I was connected to a deeper pool of knowledge or something. But so I would have questions about what was going on, what was happening, and like the answers would come to me in extreme detail. It's like I re-experienced stuff I'd previously been through, and it would like that answered the question. But a couple big questions I had was like, what am I? And at that time, I was just like a round orb of light. I had questions about where I came from. I wanted to know, and I saw like where I came from. I had started out as like a soul with a whole bunch of other souls. We just kind of all existed together in a sea of light, and God, like communicated with me telepathically and basically said that, we were all created with free will, but we needed experience and we needed wisdom and understanding, and that, we were going to come to this physical realm so that we could, gain understanding and knowledge. And basically, he explained that God is loving, kind, compassionate, honest, generous, and that in order for us to really enjoy our existence, we needed to freely choose those same traits for ourselves. And this education would allow us to freely choose those traits for ourselves. And once we did, and we, finished this education, we'd be able to really, really enjoy our existence. Like we'd get all the hard stuff out of the way really quickly, and then we could have just bliss afterwards. And then I saw that I had questions about, how I became this person, and I saw that, I was involved in choosing this life, like choosing my parents, my body, like what country I was born in, my hair color, how good I looked, how intelligent I was. Like I was involved with guides, and we made all these choices together about what my life would look like. And I was shown that, I had lived numerous previous lives, and some of the stuff I had done in a previous life that was going to like impact how this life went. Like some of the stuff I was directly shown, okay, you did this in a past life, and now, you're basically going to receive what you had given out in a past life, and this is done to educate me. So it would give me some wisdom. I was receiving what I had previously given out. And I saw what I had been doing between previous lives. I saw I had been in some happy realms where things were really nice, and I'd been in some unhappy realms where things weren't so nice. And these realms that I had been in, as far as I could tell, was directly related to my mindset, what kind of person I had been during the previous life. Um, but anyway, when I'd seen all this, and my answers were my questions were answered. It was like a being of light came to me and told me, "You are not to leave your body." And bam, I was back in my body. And that's kind of the gist of near-death experience. I go into more detail in my chapter and describe, what I experienced, what I learned, what I went through. So that's kind of what my near-death experience was all about.
Oh, that's so fascinating. And you were at such a young age and you retained all of the information you had gotten in your near-death experience. How did you choose to live your life from that point, 6 years old onwards, knowing everything you had known? And I'm saying this in the context of at 6 years old, and even up to I would say 25 years old, we are gathering a lot of our beliefs from the people around us, from everything, our environment. And a lot of those beliefs shape us and shape how we be and how we become and what we choose to do and not to do. And it shapes a lot of the fears we pick up and a lot of the limiting beliefs we pick up too. So, how did you live your life from that point until now, knowing, or maybe you didn't know about all these other beliefs coming at you and how they were going to shape you? Because obviously, you know truth at that age, right? You know what the deal is, and no one else does.
Right.
So they teach you and say things to you and, give you all of this information, which might not be true. So, how did you navigate that?
Uh, so, so there's a big piece of that that I didn't mention. Um, Shortly after my experience, maybe 6 months or 9 months later, these guides that I had worked with prior to life, they contacted me and basically told me that this experience I had was interfering with my life. It was preventing me from ever developing faith because I had like actual knowledge and experience about the spiritual side of things. And essentially, they told me that uh, they requested my permission to hide this experience from me. And they assured me that when I was an adult, when I was much older, I could get this information back. But it was like preventing me from living life the way I was supposed to. And also they wanted to change my life plan to give me the experiences I needed to really be able to properly handle some of the stuff I had seen because some of it was pretty amazing. And I agreed. And so my experience was hidden from me, and I didn't think about it again for 30 years. And then when I was, I think, 36 years old, I was reading a Newsweek magazine article about a guy named Dr. Eben Alexander. He's a famous, he was a neurosurgeon who had a near-death experience, and he wrote a book about it. So anyway, I read this magazine article, and that triggered for me the recall of all these memories that had been hidden from me for 30 years. And to answer your question, like afterwards, after that shocking, oh wow moment when I got those memories back, um, how it's affected my life, I uh, I guess the main thing is I focus on the compassion, the kindness, the honesty, integrity, generosity, service, helping others, just trying to be a good person, trying to do the right things. People get focused on I believe this, I believe that. But what I saw as important is, actually being the good person, actually helping other people. Like that's very important. And so I try to focus on that. And then I also, I'm just trying to share my experience and tell other people what I went through, what I remember. And I think there's some real good information there about, the life planning process, how that works a little bit. It's pretty straightforward to me because I saw it, and I'm just trying to explain to other people that wow, well, this is kind of how it works, and by knowing that, I feel like people can live a better life. They can set themselves up for greater happiness when they return to the spiritual realm.
Yes, I agree with you. You said something earlier on about, well, firstly, you mentioned a lot about education. All of this is education. All of this is a learning
Right.
experience where we gather the knowledge and the information we need to improve, to do better, to make better choices, to, all those things. Um, what do you think about the soul's journey? For example, you mentioned you were in a sea of souls, a sea of light, I think you mentioned was a sea of light. And you were told that you were to have an experience and that you would have to make choices, or you would have to learn to or want to take on the attributes of God, the generosity, the kindness, the
Right.
compassion, and all that. How do you think it would be it would not maybe be as easy. Let's say if we didn't live in the world we do now with all these challenges. So obviously we get to make choices and you can choose what you want. So you said that when you get the hard stuff out of the way, then you can live a good life. Did you mean when you get to having all of these experiences and still choose to be the best that you can be, then you can progress? Or did you mean that once you've learned all the lessons that your soul has to learn or that you had chosen, then you get to, it's kind of, free sailing after that? What does that mean?
Right. The way I meant that was uh, when we're done with our physical lives, like even the best physical life is still kind of difficult. You still have problems to deal with. There's things that aren't perfect. When we get past the physical lives that we need to leave, need to live, then we can progress into the spiritual realms where things are much, much nicer. That's kind of how I meant that. Now, we can make our progress through these physical lives a lot easier just by, getting with the program and being a good person, being good to others. Like that can make our journey a whole lot easier. Um, but really, I meant that from a spiritual perspective, where when we leave behind this physical realm, things will get significantly better, and it's just a wonderful existence after this.
So what was it like in the non-physical realm? I want to say at 6 years old, but age doesn't make a difference, when you're in the
Right,
non-physical. So what was it like there compared to anywhere else?
right. So, it, as far as I can tell, there's like multiple different realms. That's the best I can describe it. And the one realm I was in, that was the way I view it, it's like parallel to this physical realm. Like I could still see into the physical realm, but I was in some kind of spiritual realm. Um, but like that was like timeless. Like the flow of time was just fundamentally different, and somehow I could feel that. Like it just really stood out. Um, and I was like more intelligent. Um, I could think straighter, more straight. Um, I was still me, but like a better version of me, like more intelligent, more aware. Things were more vivid, like it was more real than this reality. And then some of these other realms, uh, like some of these heavenly realms that I saw, like they were just absolutely wonderful. I couldn't. The brief glimpse I got into some of that was really terrific. Like I could barely describe it other than it's just wonderful. And then I saw some unpleasant realms, where the souls there were unhappy. And I think the big thing I'd like to describe about those realms is um, it's like when we die, we end up with others who are just like us. Okay. And so if we're loving and we're kind and we're good, that's a very pleasant experience. But if we're trying to hurt others, to steal, to torture, to all this horrible stuff, imagine if you're with others who are just like that and you're all free to do what you want. Like it's a horrible experience. And I got to witness some of that, and it was really awful. But I think the important thing I want to say about that is like the souls aren't trapped there. They're not stuck like that forever. They can leave, come back to Earth, and continue their upward progression. And it was just a learning experience for those souls, as awful as it was. But they're going to gain some valuable education and wisdom through that experience, and learn that, hey, it's not good to act like that. And anyway, so I guess what really stood out to me was in the spiritual realms, things are timeless. Like time just doesn't apply. We're more free to do what we really want to do. Like we have almost complete freedom to do what you want to do. If you want to hurt somebody, well, that's what you can do. If you want to love somebody and be good and kind to other people, well, that's what you can do. And that freedom is really more significant in the spiritual realms than it is here in this physical realm.
Hmm. Yeah, so that free will continues on everywhere in every realm. And it was so interesting what you said. So it's exactly like being in a physical form where, like you say, show me your friends and I'll show you your life, I'll show you your future, who you surround yourself with and what you do, you pretty much attract more of that, and that will be your experience. And it's interesting because I had this belief and I didn't know, I'm learning and I'm learning more speaking to you now. I had this belief that once you are in non-physical state, you are immediately uh, expanded and you are immediately in a state of loving awareness, like an unconditional loving awareness where you project that too. Even if you were completely, a non-loving being, let's say in a human form. Maybe you were not a good person, maybe you were a liar, cheater,
Right.
stealer, maybe you were, looking to hurt people and all that. Now you die, and then you were like, oh wow, I forgot I'm, this amazing, wonderful being, and I'm wonderful, and I want to do good things or whatever. I didn't know, well, now I know, but I didn't know that when you were non-physical and you can choose to be negative. Like I thought
Right.
negativity and, being bad, quote unquote, was just a human physical form thing because of the density. But it's more free will, which makes sense because obviously you get
Right.
beings who are negative. I don't know why I didn't make that connection. It's so easy. um,
Right.
yeah, so that was super interesting. And so in these realms that you see, the good realms, the bad realms, all that, did you get a sense of some realms were maybe off limits? Because you said they were free will and you didn't have to be in the lower negative realms. You could choose to progress upward. What about the upward realms? Are there some
Right.
places that are off limits?
Yeah, that's a great question. I did see that like at one point I was in front of this big like locked door and I don't I think that was like a symbolism used to show me what the situation was. Like I could not go through this locked door no matter what I did. Like I wasn't uh mentally prepared for what was beyond. It was like as I understand it, it was some kind of like higher level of heaven or something like that. And I just was not ready for it. And I could not go through this locked door no matter what I did. I needed instead to come to Earth and change myself before I'd be able to progress to higher levels. Um, as far as I can tell from my experience, um, you can't really just go to higher levels unless you change yourself because you it's like you don't fit in. Like you don't match that higher vibration and it becomes extremely uncomfortable for the souls there and they want to leave because it's like it doesn't match their vibration. And so instead of staying at this higher level where it's extremely uncomfortable for them, they end up going to a lower level that matches their vibration, even though the souls at the higher level are happier. If you don't fit into that kind of vibration and that level, it's just it doesn't work out. And you need to be at your appropriate level, and souls naturally gravitate like that. And if you want to go progress to a higher level, well, you need to change yourself. And the fastest way to change yourself for a spirit is to come here to this physical realm, face these challenges, face these difficulties. And by doing that, we can change ourselves and raise our vibration. And then when we return to the spiritual realm, then we'll be able to naturally fit into a higher level of spiritual happiness.
I love that. So it is like you say, an education center, a school, and I've heard Earth School so many times, that terminology, or Earth University, or
Yeah,
master class, or whatever. And it's like you say, you want to progress and go to the upper levels and open these upper level doors. You need to change yourself, and you change yourself by putting yourself under challenging situations. And Earth is a place to do that. Well, I would assume, one of the places to do that. I've
right.
heard one of the best places to do that because of the density, because of the level of the challenges, and so on. So, yeah, that makes sense. One other question I have for you is, when you were there in the spirit realm, did you maybe see or meet any significant figures? A lot of people meet their guides or angels, some of
Right.
them meet Jesus. Did you meet any significant figures?
Yeah, yeah, I think I did. During what I view as my spiritual beginning, I met God, and that was pretty amazing. But at the time, I didn't recognize how amazing that was. But in retrospect, I realized that wow, this is pretty cool. I met multiple guides. I think at least three different guides who were helping me plan this life. Um, and I met some higher beings of light who I view as angels. They were at a higher level that I didn't completely understand. But one thing interesting about them is like they were translucent, like you could see through them. They're just absolutely beautiful beings of light. But by being translucent, you can see into them. And, we have facial features and, it has a certain beauty to it. But with these beings of light, you can like see into them. And so there's like a deeper intimacy by immediately being able to see into them. And they have internal features that have a beauty to them that is kind of mind-blowing. And by like these internal features, like it shows a deeper part of what kind of experiences they have, what kind of soul they are. Like you know them more intimately just by looking at them, and it is really beautiful. And I can't describe it with justice, but I mean, I'm saying it was really beautiful. These beams of light were incredible, and I got a brief glimpse of a couple of these, which was really impressive. So yeah, those are the entities that I remember interacting with during my experience.
Wow. What was it like being in the presence of God?
Well, at the when that happened, I was like a new soul. I was naive. I didn't have any experience or background. I didn't know anything. I didn't understand anything. But so my experience wouldn't be the same as if I was there now because I have more of an understanding. But like there was just absolute love, kindness, respect, just an amazing experience to be with God. Like that's like the best experience you could possibly have is to be with God. Because there's no judgment, no hate, no like anger. There's none of that stuff. It's only all these positive traits that you're getting from God, and so it's very soothing and it like completes you fully. Like it's just the utmost happiness to be there with God. I just couldn't really just describe how wonderful God is, but all the positive traits you can think of, all the wisdom, all the power, all of that's God. It's none of this negative hate stuff, God's going to judge you. God hates you when you do this. It's none of that stuff. It's all the positive stuff. That was my experience with God.
Wow. And when you say you were a new soul, what does that mean?
Uh, I mean, that's a great question. As I view it, God creates us in soul groups, and we're created ignorant with no experience or background knowledge, but we have free will, and the free will is really important. Uh, it's like that. That's like one of the core reasons for us being created in the first place is God created us to have free will and to be able to make our own choices. And we needed to be created ignorant and without experience so that we could learn for ourselves. And if God just forced that experience of wisdom on us, it's like it would violate our free will and like contradict the core reason for our creation in the first place. So I, I view it as like I was created by God before I ever came to this physical realm. I was created in this spiritual realm, and just ignorant and with no experience. But I need to gain experience, gain wisdom before I can really appreciate my existence. And coming here in this physical realm, well, that's how we gain that wisdom and experience.
I love that you said that you have to gain experience before you can appreciate your existence. I love that.
Right.
Um, so is it like God creates these soul groups and soul groups are continuously in creation because obviously you're not a new soul anymore. You've learned, you've
Right.
experienced, you've grown, you're going to earth, you're doing all these things, you're learning, you're progressing. So I'm assuming, and I don't know, but are souls being created constantly? Are the new souls being reborn constantly? And what happens to souls that are being born? Is it just an infinite? Does it just expand infinitely? Because I don't think the old souls just die off.
Right. Right. No, no, I don't think old souls die off. I think souls are enjoying themselves in the spiritual realm. They're having a great time. I guess I don't know. It seems to me that God is creating oodles and oodles of souls, just countless souls. I don't know if it's infinite or if there's a finite number, but it's a lot. And these souls are being created outside of time in like a timeless spiritual realm. So like when they're created, if they're still being created, like I don't know. I couldn't quite answer that, but it definitely seemed like there's, from a human perspective, just countless numbers of souls being created, way more than just humanity. And I couldn't quantify that with a number, but I think it's a lot.
You know, So I have a 8 month, almost 8 month old now, and I was looking at her yesterday, and I'm like, my gosh, you were a newborn just yesterday. And I was thinking, I compare the child parent relationships to like maybe a soul relationship with God, in the sense like, just as you said, we don't fully appreciate being in their presence, because when we're newborns, we don't know. We just know that here's
Right,
this being, it cares for me, it loves me. If I make sounds, they're going to soothe me. They're going to do what it takes to keep me happy. But then as I grow and progress, I'm going to separate myself, and I want to have my own experiences, and I want to go away, and I want to do things. And I'm going to have disagreements, because here's this all knowing, all loving being that wants to keep me happy and safe and loved. And here I want to go and experience things that are dangerous and chaotic and absolutely bonkers. And they allow it because they love me and they want me to have this experience. But there's always this hand guiding and showing, and there's always these other guides and people and teams trying to show you the right way and give you good advice and keep you along the straight and narrow. And
right,
as you progress as a soul, you appreciate having that figure more and more. You want to spend time with them, you want to be with them, you want to be in their wisdom and ask them questions and learn from their experiences, as you get older and older. And from the human perspective, I know it's because we know that the time is limited with them. At some point, parents are going to pass on, they're going to get old and die, and you won't have that time with them anymore physically. But as a soul, I assume that would obviously be different, because you're not going to physically, or die off as a soul. You can maybe have experiences further with God, and that are more appreciative from your side, because you're not a newborn soul anymore. You now experience, and so yeah, it was
right.
just interesting how you were explaining that, and I was comparing it with the physical relationship of parents and kids. What do you think of that? Does it make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Uh, what one thing I saw during my experience was like everything in this physical realm is sort of like an ugly reflection of some deeper spiritual truth. And I think that's the same with, how we raise a baby. When a baby is born, they don't have any knowledge or understanding. They need to gain that through experience. And that's similar to our souls. It's very similar. So yeah, I think that's a neat comparison.
uh, Conversation for me. It gives me a lot to think about. And I really look forward to reading your chapter. I've started reading your book. Aaron's writing a book right now. It's going to be out very, very soon. We're in the process of the editing, finalizing all that. So that's super exciting. So many amazing, wonderful descriptions and details in there. I think people who read that book will really enjoy it. They'll really get a new perspective on everything we've talked about, and more detail as well. So if you
Right.
are into near death experiences and learning from that perspective, I would definitely recommend getting his book when it comes out. And I'll come back and put the link to that in this video once your book's link is available. But for now, I would recommend they check out your chapter, which will be in our book coming out in less than a month. Super excited for that. May 26th, it's going to be out. It's right now, it's 99 cents for the ebook. And that's volume one, two, and three. So I'll put the link to that in the description as well. And go get it. It's only 99 cents. You are not going to regret it. Amazing, wonderful wisdom and stories, and amazing information on a soul's journey. And you can learn from it. You can take what you want to take. You can plug in the pieces that make sense for you, plug in the pieces that are missing from your understanding, gain more insights, expand your information and your knowledge on that. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate having a chat with you today. I wish that we had more time. Maybe we can schedule another chit chat soon.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll send you my link. We'll schedule another chit chat, and we can go deeper in some of the topics. I actually want to talk more about God. I want to talk more about soul creation. I want to talk more about the different realms and what's inside of them.
Right.
Free will, I want to talk more about that. So let's schedule another chit chat. And yeah, I look forward to that. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you, Ameera.
Thanks. We'll speak soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.